Welcome everyone. My name is Alvaro Alvarez, the innovative media librarian here at Orbach. So I have a few people here live, so I'll be kind of looking both ways to try to get everyone. But yeah, thank you. So some of my roles here, I help faculty, students, anyone that comes to the library pretty much with consultations around their research projects or any type of projects like hobby projects, mostly around like the creator lab. So all the services we offer there. Uh, I do a lot of outreach and programming too around the Creator Lab, so workshops like today's, and we do a lot of fun stuff like Maker Week and robotics camps. Here's my contact information too, and there's Brendan Wheeler, he's the Maker Services Coordinator, so he is in charge of managing the space and the students. So if you have any questions for us at any time, you can email us here. So let me see. Before I get started, there are other workshops going on, some later today and some tomorrow. So make sure to follow this link and check those out as well. A lot of interesting topics. And then just code of conduct, just a brief, like, just be respectful, graceful, be accepting of others' criticism when you attend the workshops. We want a productive environment. So thank you for that. And here is this QR code and the link to the slides for today. I also have it as a PDF, so you might want to get this really quickly, especially for those of you online, because when we get to the hands-on portion of the presentation, it will be hard for me to kind of help you troubleshoot there, but I'll open the chat when the time comes and I'll try to assist you. But with my slides and that PDF, you should be able to see the solution with the code. So you'll be able to see what you did wrong and hopefully like fix it. So, oh, it's on the follow that QR code that I on the screen and then yeah. Yeah, and then yeah, so then you should be able to get it. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty then. So hopefully everyone was able to follow the QR code or the link. If not, I can bring it back before I get started on the hands-on. Well, yeah, let's get started. Welcome to the world of Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi is a really little small board as you see on the table. It does a lot of cool things, and I'll talk about it in some of my slides right now. But yeah, some of the projects I worked on, I've done a lot of robotics stuff. We use them in our robotics camps. But yeah, today we're going to be using the SenseSat, and I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. So who uses a Raspberry Pi? So pretty much anyone, hobbyists, educators, makers, anyone pretty much. It's some people even use the Raspberry Pi to when they go traveling, they take it with them and they're able to work, use it as a laptop. They connect it to a TV, check their emails and work from it. And of course, educators, they use it to teach kids like intro to Python and a lot of fun stuff. And again, the Raspberry Pi, it's like a really small board. It runs on a Linux OS, and they're really cheap. They have the smaller versions that are like the size of a gum stick. Those are like $5, $10 each. Then you have the Raspberry Pis like threes, fours, fives, which run from $35 up. Depending on the newer models, they're more expensive. And they're really low power consumption. And yeah, they're versatile and expandable, as you're going to see today in this workshop with all the different hats that you can buy and just place on top. And you're ready to prototype, gather data for your research, and do a lot of cool things. So yeah, like I mentioned with a Raspberry Pi, you can learn to code in Python. I've built robots. We do that with our robotics camp too in the summer. I've created a little arcade. So I laser cut the arcade walls and then I used a Raspberry Pi and an old joystick I had, and I made a little retro arcade for my desktop. And then of course I've seen people use it for home automations to make maybe like a security system to control appliances around the house with an app. Weather stations, I've seen people use it to predict the weather and other educational tools as well. And yeah, before you get started with the Pi, you have to like, of course, choose the model you're going to use. And like I mentioned, there's a lot of different models. So Like, of course, if you're going to start doing stuff with AI, you want the newer, the fives. If you want to do other things like the retro arcade, you can get away with like the threes and the fours. And you can see a little diagram here of the Raspberry Pi. It's much like the Arduino. It has your GPIO pins that can control like ultrasonic sensors, servos, motors. You have your little slot for an SD card. So that's kind of like your hard drive. That's where you load your OS, your Linux OS, and then you're able to yeah, use it as a little pocket-sized computer. And you can even install Windows. So that's like a really cool part about it. And then, of course, like a computer, you have your power, your monitor, camera, and your sound, and your USB ports. So yeah, it's very versatile. And you could see there's an image right below the Pi of some of the accessories that I mentioned. And here are some other resources for you if you want to get started with some projects of your own. So, Instructables is the one how I use to get started. So people share their projects there with step by step on what to do. They share the code. They also share like schematics, and it's really helpful when you're getting started with projects. And you can also share your projects there and help other people as well once you get more advanced. Raspberry Pi's website is a really good resource. You can download their Magpie magazine for free every month. So it's basically a PDF with a lot of projects, articles around the Raspberry Pi and what's going on with technology. And then, of course, the workshops here at the library or any other workshops in your schools that you can attend if they're teaching how to use the Raspberry Pi and do some hands-on stuff with it. And then YouTube, that's always like a go-to. And yeah, now like AI too could teach you how to use a Raspberry Pi with like Gemini. You create a gem, it'll teach you how to like do all the stuff that I'm going to show you today probably. Uh and the session goals for today. So first we're not gonna actually connect the physical Raspberry Pi. You're gonna use emulator that I'm gonna give you the link to in a little bit. But if you do have a Raspberry Pi and you do happen to have a Sense hat, yeah, feel free to use it. And we have that in the robotics lab. So I know like some of you, I've seen you in the Creator Lab, robotics lab. You can go in there, get the little board, and then use my slides to play around with it later, like the physical one. Yeah, you know, yeah. It's like, mhm. Oh yeah, I can bring it back up right now. Let me go back. Oh, it's this one. Just the QR code and there's the yeah. Let me oops. It's probably easier with the QR code. Look, that went all the way. Yeah. Yeah, let me know. Are they okay now? Oh, 3 minutes ago. Okay, hopefully, yeah. Sorry about that. So let's go back. Sorry, I lost my place. So, the session goes, yeah. So, we'll get started with the emulator. We'll explore it. We're gonna display some emojis and play around with the orientation and humidity sensors of the Sense Hat in the Raspberry Pi. And yeah, for this workshop, just remember, yeah, ask questions like you just did if you have any questions. Audrey is here to help the people that are here live. And then for the chat, yeah, I can try to answer them as I go. And then don't remember, and then don't, if you fail, yeah, remember fail is first attempt in learning. So don't be discouraged. Celebrate your success, collaborate. Oh, we can't right now, but the people here, you could collaborate, you could talk to each other and help each other out. Oh yeah, yeah, I'll go right now. And then at the end, just reflect on what we've learned. So let me go back to the QR. Yeah. I think tried to click on it, but I couldn't. Let me see. Yeah, if you just use your phone, yeah, you can get to. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, and let me go back to this. So, yeah, here's just another picture of the Sense hat. And here's a really cool example of how it's being used with the International Space Station. So they actually use this up there to gather data with astronauts. So if you ever have time to Google this, the Pi project, yeah, it's a really good read. And yeah, this is just a picture of how you would just pop the hat onto the GPIO pins on top of the Raspberry Pi. And yeah, so here is this link. This one's a shorter link, so I'll give you a minute or two. So if you go to this, it should bring up the trinket with the emulator, the trinket page. So on the left is where you have your code, where you're gonna code today and follow along. And on the right, that's a little emulator of the Raspberry Pi and the Sense Hat. So as we're going along, I will provide, well, if you downloaded the slides earlier, you'll have the links to the solutions in case you run into issues with the code and a video example of what it should look like when you get it running. So, oh, you brought it. Oh, you actually got it. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. You'll need a keyboard and mouse. And, yeah, yeah.
I got a mouse.
Oh, they have a kit.
Oh,
yeah.
that large thing.
Mhm.
You can get that.
Oh, yeah. They let you. Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry, someone here wanted to get a kit from the robotics lab, so they're actually gonna follow along with the actual, or try to at least. So let's see. And then just about the editor, if you do use a Raspberry Pi in the future for programming, Thani is the editor that the Raspberry Pi comes with that you can just go to the top, the little Raspberry Pi programming, and then that will bring up Thani. And this is what it will look like on the Raspberry Pi. And you can start coding there and hit run. And then if you have the Pi on top of the Sense hat on top of the Raspberry Pi, you'll be able to see what you're doing with the little LED matrix, and you'll be able to see at the bottom like the data that's running off the code. So yeah, for the first set of lines of code, let's test out the SenseHat. So if you followed that link to the trinket, I can bring it up again if you need to. Just ask in the chat. Uh, on the left side, just delete all the code there, and then just type these three lines. So again, for errors, if you get errors, spelling, it's case sensitive, and also if you misspelled something, make sure it's spelled right. Upper, lowercase, like I mentioned, indentations. I've had issues where I do double indents and then I get a lot of errors. So make sure the indentations are as I showed you in the examples, and then spaces too. Yeah, sometimes if you add too many spaces, yeah, it's a little picky with that. And let me explain this code really quick while you type it. So at the top, it says from sense hat, import sense hat. So this is pretty much you're calling the library, you're bringing a library into be able to use the tools, which is the functions sense hat. So the way I kind of explain it is like I work at a library, so let's say I'm going to visit the library. So SenseHat is the library. I'll call it Orbach Library, which is the library I work at. So from Orbach Library, I'm gonna go find this book, and it's called SenseHat. And all those pages, just imagine it's the code that we're gonna be using, like the tools that we'll be using to call on to be able to do some of the things that we want the program to do. And then in Python, you need to create an object. So the next line, line two, the object I'm creating is called sense. And so you just type sense equals sense hat. So once you create an object from that sense hat, the way I like to explain it is like I went to the library. So from sense hat, I found the book Sense Hat. I want to check it out and I want to put it in a backpack. So Sense is kind of like your backpack where you're putting it into. That way you could carry it with you and reference it whenever you need to, which brings me to the bottom line where it says sense.show underscore message hello in parentheses. So that's going to display hello in the little matrix. So again, I'm gonna sense is that object I created, and then dot show message is actually a function, and a function is just pre-done code for you, so you don't have to create that code. You just call on that code um to do what you want it to do in the program. So in this case, this function show underscore message is going to display that. hello. So hopefully that made sense. And let me play this video. This is what you should see. So on the right, you see the Raspberry Pi and the Sense hat. It should say hello and in white. And on the left, you see the lines from the code that you were just typing. So hopefully you got that. If not that, at the top, the that's the link to this, the page with this, and then that should run. I tested it before the webinar, so hopefully that could help you troubleshoot any issues with the code to help you get started. And let's move on. I created this video. Hopefully you could hear. Let's see, let me play it. If not, I'll just skip it. It's okay. Sure, I'll just skip it. Um, I kind of explained it already. The video was just gonna kind of repeat what I told you earlier. But yeah, let's get to activity. Start the activity. So activity one, we're going to be playing with RGB colors. So RGB colors, pretty much you see the little picture in the middle. So red would be the number 25500. Green would be 02550. And blue is 00255. So these are the numbers you're going to play around with in the next example so that you can get different colors. Um, for this example or activity, we're just going to do red. But then on your own, if you want to play around with it, try to mix and match the numbers and see what colors you get on the matrix. So let's see. So I'll give you a few minutes, maybe for like 4 or 5 minutes. And if you want to type this code, um, and then try to run it, and then you should get it should blink red, and then it'll clear. So that's what's happening in the code. So while you type it, I'll kind of explain the code. So the top three lines are the same ones I explained earlier. Red, I'm creating a variable and I'm naming it red. And a variable is pretty much just a placeholder. So anything you tell it that it's going to be, so I can change these numbers and still leave it as red, and it would just be the colors that I set here. So think of it like a coffee cup, and you named it red. So one in the morning, maybe you want to drink coffee. The next morning, you want to drink tea. So it's just like a little placeholder for whatever it is. Like in this case, it's a placeholder for like the colors that we're telling it we want to be referenced from red. Then again here, sense.clear, we're using this function to call on that variable we just named and initialized. And that's going to display the RGB colors we put in here. So 25500 is red. Then the sleep function just pauses for a second. Then sense.clear, this dot clear function just clears the board. This time we didn't say red or any color, so it's just gonna clear it completely. And then sense.set underscore pixel 4, 5 red. That's just gonna count 4 to the right, down 5, I believe, and it's going to isolate that pixel and color it red. And then it's going to sleep for a second. And then the last function we're going to call on is sense.show message, which it's just going to show the word. It's going to flash the word red. Oh, there you go. Sorry, it was my timer so I could keep track. But yeah, it's just going to show that in red. So, and then the challenge to you is on your own. We can you can try to do green, blue, magenta, cyan. Try to change the colors around and see what you get. So let me see. And I think we are at time. Let me see, what time is it? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully everyone was able to type this and get it. Let me go to the next page. Here's what you're gonna see when you type it up, and yeah, so you see on the right, it's going to flash everything red, the pixel, and then it's going to just show the word red. Let me play it again for you. So And then again, I added the URL to the trinket so that if you are having issues, you could just go to that and that code should work. And then let me play it one more time so that if someone didn't catch it. Okay. Oh, awesome. Okay. All right, so I'll move on to activity two. Uh, I'll set a timer right now for 5 minutes, but before I do that, for this one, it's the same code at the top. We're calling on the sense hat library, importing the sense hat function. Sense equals sense hat, like I mentioned before, we're creating an object. And then in this case, we are creating two variables. So R, you can name it whatever you want. I just did R in this example for red equals again 255 0 0, and then this time I'm adding another color, white. So for this one, white is just 255 255 255. And here I'm creating another variable over here called smile, which here, when you type out the R and the W, so if I do W, the comma, space, W, comma, space, each one of those represents a pixel. So as you can see on the left, there's a little smiley face. So all those are white pixels, and then the red ones are over here. So these are the eyes, and here is the little smiley face. So wherever you see an R. So again, you don't have to do a happy face. You can do whatever you want. Just play around with it for a little bit. Uh, I'll set a timer for 5 minutes so that you guys can, yeah, this one might take a little longer. So, and yeah, if you have any questions, let us know. Our student worker will let me know too. I'll check the chat in a bit, and then oh, we're good. Okay. And yeah, and then I have the people that are here with me are actually setting up the Raspberry Pi with the Sense hat and everything. So, um, yeah, so they're good to go over here on the right. Yeah, so for this one, like a good of example of this would be like if you were trying to uh you were using this maybe to measure the temperature of a room. Yeah, you can have it display red when it's really hot and blue when it's cold, and that would kind of show you if you have the little Raspberry Pi on the wall. Like, yeah, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of different examples. Later we're going to do a humidity, play around with humidity, the sensor. So for that one, I actually created an app. So it depending on humidity, it's kind of what I'm going to show you today. It's going to give me a red or blue color. And also it logs the data onto a text file on the Raspberry Pi. So every time I run the Raspberry Pi, it stamps it with the date. It gives me all the data, which then I could use for like if I was going to create like do something with research on the humidity levels in a room on I don't know, some kind of experiment. For mine, I just did it just to kind of keep track of like 3D print the 3D printing room so that like if the humidity is too high, it affects the PLA. So so yeah, I did that a while ago. So it's just one example of how you can use some of these tools. Oh, thanks, Audrey. So, yeah. Yeah, we have a couple more minutes. So yeah, and then also if you don't want to use red, feel free to change the colors too. Play around with it. This is just the example I used. So just make sure that yeah, like yeah, when you whatever you do over here, like if you name it W or Q or A, that you use that over here in the in this section as well. Not it's not gonna know what to do. Oh, is it working for you guys? Yeah.
So
Oh, you're still okay. All right, we have about a minute and a half left. Um, just to give do 5 minutes just to give everyone enough time. I know some people could type really quick or some are a little slower, but you can also copy the code if you have access to the trinket, which I'll show you actually in a little bit. Oh, I see a question, couple questions. I'll try to answer them. Have a few seconds. I believe it does. Yeah, I believe it should be up to date, the Trinket website. I haven't played around too much with it other than with like the this Raspberry Pi stuff. But yeah, once you create an account, the free account, yeah, you can do a lot of stuff. I know for the paid accounts, uh you're have access to other features, much like a lot of the programs right now that we see, but yeah, it's a really cool and neat site to just emulate, kind of like Tinkercad, where if you don't have the physical board, yeah, you can do it there. Oh, if you set it the pixel value outside of the 8 by 8 grid, I just don't think anything will happen. But yeah, try it out. Yeah, add another extra line or two and see what happens. I just don't think anything will happen. It'll just read whatever's inside of it. All right. Uh, okay. All right. So yeah, here's the solution. So on the left, you see that's the code that I just showed you, and over to the right, yeah, you just see the little smiley face to whatever color you set it, and then that's the URL if you want to just go directly to the trinket I created for this and play around with it as well. So let me see. We're pretty good on time. Hopefully we have time to cover everything. So activity three. This one is just the orientation. It has a sensor to read like the angles if you rotate the pi on the Z, the X, or the Y axis, which is called the pitch, roll, and yaw. You could see down here the little picture. So the roll is the X axis, the pitch is the Y axis. So yeah, this is a really neat thing. I've seen it used in robotics where they use this to keep the robot in a straight line. So if it starts angling off on the X or the Y axis, it recalibrates so it keeps like the wheels going straight. And let me see. So here's the activity. So for this one, we're introducing a while true statement. So while this is true, while the data is equal to sense.get orientation, while there's movement, it's going to display a number. And for we're going to use pitch as equal to data. And then this you could change to roll or yaw. It doesn't have to be pitch. So it just depends what the data you want to read, the X, Y, or Z axis. And then to print it, it's just the print, and then you just type in pitch, and then that will display it for you. So I'll give you, yeah, this one shouldn't take you too long to type out. Let me see. And I'll just show you the result while you're typing. So here's the URL again for that. Let me see. And let me play the video so you could see what's gonna happen when you. So yeah, on the right you could see with my mouse I can rotate the pie and then I can get it just shows me the angle at the bottom of the rotation. Yeah, so again, yeah, play around with it. Try them all out if you can right now or on your own. And yeah, it's a really useful sensor, especially if you're doing a lot of projects with robotics. Let me go see. Okay. Oh, awesome. Okay. Let me play it again. So you see, so
Mhm. Mhm. Okay.
oh, okay. Sorry, I thought someone had a question. But yeah, you have a few more minutes, so play around with it. And then I'll look at the chat if there's any questions too. I'll try to answer them. And again, you can always email me too at alvaro.alvarez@ucr.edu. I do consultations too. I'm open to meeting with anyone from any school. I've had consultations with people from other UCs. So yeah, just feel free to email me, even if it's a quick question, and I'll try to answer it for you, whether it's this or a project of your own that you're working on. I could try to help you. Yeah, and then we have a lot of Brendan too is really he knows how to use the Raspberry Pi too. So whenever I'm not available, he's around, and then our student workers too in the robotics lab, they're all very used. They know Python as well, so they help a lot of the students out when they come to use the equipment in that room. So let me play it again so you guys can see it. Yeah, and then again, I mentioned like we use this for I've seen it being used for robotics. So I started helping with the Lego with the local high school. They have like a Lego robotics team. So yeah, I've seen them use this sensor, yeah, to keep the robot in a straight line when they're doing their obstacles because sometimes when you have the two motors, one might drift off a little and the car will go at an angle. So for the competition they have to have it go straight towards the object that they're trying to get to because once they get to that object they use like an ultrasonic sensor or other sensors to detect certain things and then that triggers like a servo or a motor to do actions. So yeah, that's a really useful tool for that. I'm sure there's other applications too if you look it up for this sensor. Yeah, and then I think we're almost at time. We have like a minute left, so yeah, hopefully this is fun for you guys. I wanted to make it hands-on. I didn't want you just like kind of seeing me do everything. I wanted you to kind of experience it too. I feel like that's how some people learn. I know myself, that's how I learn. I have to type it up and troubleshoot it and so hopefully yeah this helps you learn a little bit of Python and our not Arduino, but Raspberry Pi today. Let me check the chat again before I move on. Oh yeah. So yeah, I always yeah, we record my workshop. So I'll probably record it again, just to condense the time a little bit on it and add some things that I might have forgotten to say. But yeah, there should be a recording and that'll be available as well. Oh, I think you would just type the last question is how do you display a message that contains a variable? Yeah, you would just name it. It should just display. So like if you name the variable like Alvaro or cat or dog, yeah, whatever you set in that variable, you could just reference it and it should pop up. Oh, you said it doesn't work for you. I can help you after, just because yeah, I only have like 10 more minutes. But yeah, oh, you can email me and I can answer your questions if I can't right now, just for the sake of time. Um, oh yeah, you're welcome. Let me see. Okay, so let me move on to the next activity. So I feel like we have 10 more minutes, so hopefully we can get through this one. So this was the humidity one. So like I mentioned, I did a project with this just to me keep track of the humidity in a room. So the code is pretty much the same as we've done in the previous examples. We're only introducing one new thing here, which is an if statement. And an if statement just kind of compares conditions. So in this case, if the humidity level is greater than 30, it's going to do the function dot clear in red. So it'll display just the whole matrix in red. And again, you can mix and match from the previous things that we've done in the activities, and you could display a sad face, happy face if you wanted to. Else, if the humidity level is less than 35, it's going to change the color to blue, I believe. And then it's going to pause for a second and check again. So it's just going to keep doing that continuously until you turn off your Pi. And to adapt this code to temperature or pressure, it would just be replacing like the humidity to temperature or pressure. So it's that easy. So depending on what data you're trying to retrieve with those sensors, yeah, you should be able to do that there. And like I said, yeah, you can record the data to Google Sheets, to a text document. That's a little more complicated with the code, but not too much. It's just a few more lines of code that you need to add to the script. But yeah, that's how you would gather your data for research projects and later create some diagrams with it. And I'm sure there's been other workshops this week where they show you how to create a lot of that stuff too with Python and AI. So yeah, so I'll give you 5 minutes. Yeah, hopefully this one's not too. Let me check. Okay, let's see. No questions. Okay. Let me see. We have about 3 minutes. Yeah, so no rush. Yeah, and then again, yeah, yeah, I provided the slides for you. That way you can on your own, like yeah, you could play around with this. And if you create an account in that website too, you can kind of start playing around with a lot of the stuff there too. So okay. Oh yeah, thank you for coming. Yeah, I saw the message. I have to hop off. Yeah, thank you, thank you. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm here to help. Yeah. Oh yeah, for that previous message about the displaying, try to delete the. I think I saw an F and parentheses. Try deleting those from that, and then see if that works for your variable in that message. I'm not too sure, but I remember that. Yeah, you're almost there. Yeah, it's just that parentheses shouldn't be there in the F, I think. If not, like I said, yeah, email me and then I can help you. Since we're like really tight on time. Uh, let's see. Oh, okay, I see. Oh, awesome, awesome. I'm glad you got it working. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have like about a minute. Yeah. So then I'll show you I guess I could show you the solution now. Let's see. Let's see. Let me play the video. So here's what you should see. So yeah, so on the right, I'm just adjusting that little slide bar, and then you could see when it gets to the number higher than what I set it to, 35, it's gonna turn red, and then when I go back down, it goes blue. Yeah, and then you can see on the top you have your temperature, and then the middle one I think it's pressure. It has a pressure sensor, I believe. I'm not too sure, but yeah, yeah, I think we have like 30 seconds left for that coding. But in the meantime, yeah, like it's time like to reflect for those of you that are done. Like, just try to think of like what issues you ran into, how you fixed them. Maybe think about projects that you could work on in the future with what you learned today. Maybe it's research, maybe it's hobby. Yeah, just for fun. There's a lot of things you can do with the Raspberry Pi, not just with the Sense hat, but there's other hats as well. For like robotics, we use like the hat that controls like the servos and the motors. And then there's a lot of other useful things you could do. You could do the stuff with the ultrasonic sensors as well. You could work with the Arduino and the Raspberry Pi together. So um, you could use the one as the brain and the other one, the Arduino, to control everything. So yeah, it just depends on the project and what you're trying to do. And here are some examples of some stuff that people have done with the Sense hat. So you can make games, Minecraft. If you're into Minecraft, you could do stuff with that. The AstroPi Pi project that I mentioned with NASA, you can read up on it there. And yeah, thank you. I think yeah, we're really close to time right now. We have like 3 minutes left. But hopefully, yeah, you were able to learn something new today or just have fun playing around with the Raspberry Pi and the Sense hat. And again, yeah, here's our website, Creator Lab, our Instagram if you want to follow us, and a link to our robotics lab too. So and again, if you have any questions and if I didn't see them in the chat and wasn't able to answer them, please feel free to email me. My email again is just alvaro.alvarez@ucr.edu. And yeah, we can meet for a consultation, or if it's just a quick answer through email, I'm here to help. So yeah, thank you everyone. Let me stop sharing. And then yeah, thanks again.